Ladies and gentlemen, today we're doing a guide for none other than the Lord of Thunder himself. Just kidding, God of Thunder. So today we're going to do an in-depth Thor guide, and you're going to learn something new here. I can almost guarantee it, because I've watched a ton of Thor guides, even from players who are Eternity and GM, and it's like every Thor guide out there is incomplete and missing a lot of details about Thor's kit. So I'm going to do my best to cover the basics here. Without further ado, we got to start with the basics. His primary attack is Mjolnir Bash. Hits for basically 45 damage, which means you gotta use it to 6-tap people whenever you're in melee range. Now, if you look on the hammers right in the middle of the screen, that's called your Thor Force. So all of your abilities are going to require Thor Force. You get a hammer throw, which is like a ranged attack, the 70 on the output, 30 on the way back, and it travels about 20 meters, so it's got some decent range to it. His second ability is going to be your bread and butter, which is your dash. Now, that's going to consume up one Thor Force. If you dash without charging, you'll go about 10 meters. If you dash with the full charge, you're going to go about 20 meters. And if you hit somebody with it, the distance gets changed. So instead of a 10-meter dash, if you hit somebody, it's going to be 6. And if it's a full charge, it's only 13 meters. All right, so that covers our dashes. So now the thing with Thor Force is when you use an ability, if you hit a melee attack within a certain range, you actually get your Thor Force back. So you can charge in, and then you can kind of see how that hammer changes color. That's how you can help regulate Thor Force. He's also got 2 more abilities. This one is I call the Super Saiyan mode, which he goes into his Awakening Room, and he basically deals out crack damage, and I'm going to talk a lot about this ability here in a second. And then his last ability besides his ultimate is his Electric Field. This will do 30 damage whenever somebody passes the electric field. And something a lot of people don't know about this ability is it actually slows people, which is going to have some more implications here coming up pretty soon. And then his last and final ability is his ultimate, which will pop a charge here. Basically what happens with this ultimate, we go invulnerable, we jump in the sky, we shoot down a bunch of lightning bolts, and then we drop down for some pretty decent damage. So now I'm going to talk about all these abilities more in detail and kind of just walk you through some tips and tricks on how to play Thor. So basically, first things first, whenever you're playing Thor, this is going to be your primary tool for engaging, getting around the map, and basically just causing a lot of chaos. You can use this to get up to high ground, blow people off the high ground, reposition yourself, even when you're walking from objective to the point. You're going to be wanting fully charging your hammer throws, or not hammer throws, your dash, so you can traverse the map quicker. Also notice, whenever we use our abilities, I forgot to mention, so your hammer throw gives you 100 shield, and then your dash also gives you 100 shield, and then when you use your Super Saiyan mode, which costs 3 Thor Force, you get 200 shield. So now a lot of people really crap on the hammer throw ability. They say, oh, there's really no reason to use the hammer throw, it's really a bad ability, it's like there's no point in using it. Now, if you're lucky, you probably watched a video that talks about using your melee cancel to get a good hammer throw in. So that's the first use I would say for your hammer throw, is that while you do normally want to be dashing in, auto attack, dash in, and honestly with the dashing, what you can do is if you aim your cursor up, you actually displace them in the sky, so it causes a bit more CC. So you should always be aiming to just like dash people up in the sky and really just fuck with them, guys. Really fuck with them. If you dash up, and you don't even have to be that close, it's way more forgiving to hit this than it is to hit Wolverine's dash. So that's going to be the bread and butter of how you're engaging and you're taking fights. But now the cool thing about the hammer throw is that, notice here we have to 6-tap somebody to kill somebody with just basic attacks. You can actually auto attack cancel into a hammer throw. So let's say we hit 3 auto attacks, 4th attack, hammer throw cancel, and then all of a sudden our TTK goes down tremendously. Now when would you want to do this versus displacing people versus CCing them? Like we don't do as much damage with the bash as we would with like a hammer throw burst, as I missed that right there. So the main thing is I recommend using your, and you could just literally come in here and just practice kind of attack, cancel, oh, sorry, didn't have my Thor Force back, attack, cancel, and that's basically what it looks like. So it's great for doing a little bit of burst damage to burst someone down, and also let's say like there's someone who is CC immune, like a Punisher in a turret is an excellent example of this. Like there's literally no point in dashing into the turret unless they're closing the gap. Like yes, dash to close the gap, but when you're already on top of the turret, dashing into it, it's not going to move him and is actually going to keep you in that animation stuck a lot longer. It's way better in those situations to just like throw out your hammer, throw, cancel to get some burst damage on. So one, if someone is low and you're trying to burst them down quick, and if someone is CC immune, that's the first reason to use your hammer throw. Second reason, you can use it for some decent range poke. There's a lot of Iron Mans and Storms on ladder these days, so you can actually come here, practice throwing out your hammer, and really sometimes that can be the difference between getting the kill on Iron Man or not. Now what I would prefer on flyers is usually you could literally just kind of like fly up in their face because you get 20 meters with your dash too. You got away from me this time. All good. Away from him to come back. He's pretty slow. Oh, yeah. Wait for him to come back again. And you can just kind of like do that. And all right, this is a poor example of how to deal with Iron Man. But anyways, yeah, you get the idea. You can just jump in their face. You can attack them. You can use your hammer throw to do that. But the third and probably best reason to use his hammer throw isn't what you expect. So notice we have the shield mechanic with Thor. Every time we use an ability, we get 100 shield. And then after a couple seconds, this shield is going to start to decay. But notice we get our cooldowns on our abilities first. So what a lot of people do when they play Thor, and I haven't seen anybody talking about this, like, you know, they'll be hugging a corner, they'll be getting ready to go in, they'll charge up their hammer, and then they're gonna go in, okay? But what people don't talk about is literally you can actually hug a corner, and let's say like you're waiting for your team, you're waiting to get in a position. Why wait to just use this dash in and get 100 shields? We're at 725 now. When what you should be doing is when you're holding an off angle and you're waiting for the right position, you can literally just chunk your hammer here, get 100 shield, and now you're ready to go in, and then boom, look at that. We start a fight with 200 bonus health instead of just 100 bonus health, guys. And you could even just use this ability to keep your shield topped off. So let's say I'm gonna right here, got my abilities back, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in, I got my 200 bonus health. Or if I'm just like waiting around a corner, what you wanna do, see how my shield's degenerating? As soon as you lose about 100 shield, and you kind of get used to the timing, you can, boom, tap off. Look, I'm 825, I'm hugging an angle, I want to keep my bonus health, degenerating, now, boom, tap off. And what you want to do is get used to that pacing so you can keep yourself at 200 extra health as long as possible without depleting too much Thor force. I don't know what I just did, I actually hit my ult button. F you bot. Alright, so now we've talked about uses for the hammer, balancing your shield to always have max HP. We've talked about dashing, you want to disrupt people, basically just be a menace, shoot them up in the sky, But we haven't even got to two of his best abilities yet. And literally, you're kind of understanding how cracked and amazing this character is. So now, with the electric field, we'll start there, and then we'll do the Awakening Rune last. People don't know that this ability actually slows people. Like, a lot of times people will like dive in, will go in, will ult, and his ult is actually pretty easy to walk away from. These bots aren't as good as walking away from the ult, but he's ult. A lot of people, you probably like ulted with Thor and usually got like nobody or use it to bait out enemy ults. But what you should be doing before you ult in is you should be hammer throwing in, get inside the team, drop your E, and notice when he leaves, look at that, he gets slowed and he takes some damage. So basically, whenever you dive in on an enemy team, and actually I'm going to disable cooldowns for this next second real quick so I can show you guys more in detail. So what you should be doing, assuming you have it and you haven't already wasted it, is whenever you dive in the enemy backline or dive the healers, drop the E on them and then go into your ult, and then they get slowed. And it makes it that much more likely that your ultimate is going to connect every time. And I love doing this. I'll like go in, I'll drive in the backline, I'll pop my E, and then I'll go straight into my ult. And then they get slowed when they try to leave that circle, which is basically perfect because then you're ulting right on top of them. So it really helps your ults connect a lot more frequently, and nobody is literally talking about this. No, like I haven't really heard many people talking about the slow and comboing it with your ult at all. And I haven't heard people talking about keeping your HP at 200 plus with the hammer throws. Actually, fun fact, when you take off cooldowns, you don't get your shields in practice mode for some reason, so I can't show you guys that anymore. So now his final ability, the Awakening Rune, and then we're going to talk about his ultimate. So the Awakening Rune basically turns you into fucking Super Saiyan mode. Now, a lot of guides have been saying you get 8 shots, you get 9 shots, but actually you get 10 shots. So as soon as you activate your Awakening Rune, it's almost instantaneous that your ability activates, so you want to just click it and then start auto-attacking basically instantly. And if you do it right, you can get 10 shots off. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 shots, guys. Each of these hits for 700 damage. Can you do the math? 10 times 70? Not 700, 70, sorry. 10 times 70 is 700 damage. So that's basically enough damage to fucking kill a tank. Now, you don't want to use it to kill a tank. And the cool thing about this ability, a couple things. One, it's got some fucking long ass range and it doesn't have damage fall off. So notice those bots, we basically 4-tap them. So we can pop it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And, oh fuck, I missed. You get the point. So anyways, but I would recommend, you really don't ever want to use that ability for range because as you saw, it is a very slow traveling projectile. Like it's a big projectile. Like look how big this hitbox is. This hitbox is huge. Like it's very forgiving to hit and it does a lot of damage. Like you can dive in on a backline, pop your E, get your Thor force back and literally just melt a couple supports or squishy targets. And ideally you want to use this on squishy targets. Mid-range, like up close like this, usually ideal, but if you manage to get into melee range, this ability actually does something really cool that a lot of people don't know. Look, we do AoE damage around ourselves while this ability is active. Granted, it's not a crazy amount. It's 30 damage a tick, but look at all that free damage we get just from being on top of somebody. That is nuts. Nobody talks about the AoE damage on this ability, but actually it does. You have a E that actually causes slow when people leave. You have a rune that causes a bunch of AoE damage around you. You are just an absolute menace. So you can farm your shield, stay topped off at 200 bonus health with your hammer throw. Use this to traverse the map, and this makes Thor just an incredibly versatile character, and he does so much damage. We haven't even talked about his ult yet, but I want to actually show you Awakening Rune here real quick. So let's say we have a Venom here. Boom. This is an 800 health point character. Now look what happens when we just pop Awakening Rune point blank. Granted, people are going to be moving around. You're never going to have it this good, but I just want to show you how much this ability melts. Look, we're doing the tick damage, and we're just spamming him with 70 a pop. And that's it. We literally just deleted 800 health point character, and it didn't take us too long. Granted, in actual games, the tanks are going to be healing. Yeah, you want to bully them, but I wouldn't recommend using that on tanks when you could just do something like this. Oh, look, the squishy, dead. Squishy, oh, another squishy, squishy, dead. And the main tip with that, see, actually, that time we got 9 shots because I waited a second before using my ability, but you want to start spamming your shots as soon as you hit the button. You'll actually get 10 shots out of this. 2 more shots, baby. Yeah, and if you're getting 10 shots, you know you're doing it right. A lot of people, I've seen so many guys that say you only get 8 shots or 9 shots, but really they're not hitting their buttons fast enough. You can actually get 10 shots out of that. So now the last thing we need to talk about is his ultimate. So basically his ultimate, you jump up in the sky. So you got to be careful when using the ultimate, because if someone runs undercover, odds are the ultimate won't hit them. So you really want to use this in like tight chokes where the enemies either can't escape and can't run undercover, or just out in the open after you jump in, you eat, you drop it, you pop your ult, and then they try to leave, they get slowed, and then you just clap some cheeks. Amazing. So now let's talk about the damage and details of his ult. So according to the website, which I checked to verify everything before making this video, his ultimate actually does 220 damage on the landing impact. But when you're up in the air, you're actually shooting lightning bolts, and each one does 40 damage and 5 lightning bolts drop. So that's 200 damage plus another 220 damage, which is a total of 420 damage. So basically, you can kill any squishy in the game if you hit them with everything with your ultimate. But the cool thing about it is that if someone's like getting away and they only have a little bit of health left and you don't have any abilities that you can actively use to try and delete them, as like a last ditch effort, you could drop your ult just to get like the little lightnings to ding. Notice 5 dings? That was 5 shots of 40 damage with a 220 drop on the ult. So the main things with Thor, use this to keep your health topped off at 800 all times. Use this to traverse the map, go up and down. Use your E to slow people and get your Thor Force back. You don't always have to save it for your ult, because you can just use this to get Thor Force back whenever someone crosses that. And that's going to be really good, especially after you do something like this, which uses all 3 of your Thor Force. Then you're going to want to drop your E to try to get your Thor Force back. And also, one last thing I would say, most of the time I'm usually using my hammer, being destructive and in the enemy team, because when you pop, let me turn cooldows off again for a second here. Whenever you pop your Awakening Rune, you are dead in the water. Like, you become this DPS Titan for a quick second, but whenever it's done, odds are you got to wait for your ability cooldown. So you get stuck in that animation for a couple of seconds, and once the ability's done, then your ability's going an additional 2-second cooldown. So, and then you're probably only down to like 1 Thor Force. So a lot of times you got to use that when you know you're going to be safe, you know you're going to be healed, or if you're just going to finish off teammates. Because if you use that too early in a fight, you're literally just dead in the water, and then they're going to just focus you and burst you down. And it really sucks not having your hammer throw, because it takes your hammer throw out of commission for a hot minute. Here, we'll pop it again. Notice this ability lasts for 5 seconds, and once it's done, our ability is going another 2-second cooldown. So whenever you're doing this, you got to be mindful that you are not going to be able to have your mobility for 8 seconds, which is a long time in this game, and you will die. Anyways, other than that, as far as Thor's team-ups go, he's got an amazing team-up with Hela. So if you know any good Helas, if you die, you'll drop your hammer on the ground while you're in your respawn animation. And if Hela manages to get a kill during that time, she will revive you. And this combo is super fucking busted. So consider going Thor if you got a really good Hela on your team. And also, Thor does boost Captain America and Storm's damage output by giving them some extra abilities, which is nice to know. So now I think that's going to be basically it for my Thor guide. I think I touched on all the big points. I am going to now tell you some training drills. So the main thing with Thor when you're learning to play him is basically come here, come to the bots, or you can go down on the other side of the map. You can actually change it to like put on like Spider-Man's like super fast speed. And you want to just really familiarize yourself with hitting this hammer. And notice that whenever we're pushing people back, it follows my body and not necessarily my reticle. So if you aim your reticle slightly to the right of whoever you're aiming for, you're going to hit them a lot better. So you notice it follows my body. It's not really following the reticle. It follows my body. See, we missed that time. And you're gonna have a lot harder time if you aim to the left of people just because of how the reticle cursor works. So you always want to be aiming slightly to the right of people and you'll definitely hit them a lot more. So basically you want to go in try mode, and this is the bread and butter of Thor. If you can get good at mastering your pins, that's basically all the skill for him. Familiar yourself with Awakening Rune as well and shooting out that long slow projectile, because as you can see, like, it is very big, but there is a little bit of a delay time on it. So master that. You can even, if you want to just get really good, you can practice throwing your hammer throw at the skybots just so you can know how to aim it, know when it comes back, and really just try to be able to like deal with Iron Man's. Yeah, there we go. And then besides that, EQ, this stuff's pretty simple, nothing too crazy to learn here. I'd say you start practicing all that in try mode, and then you're gonna just be really good mechanically with Thor. Get used to the ranges, get used to the hammer throws, and just have a good time. Now we'll hop into a replay where I'll kind of break down my mindset in the game as I'm playing Thor, and hopefully you find some value from it, guys. If you're enjoying the ride so far, please like the video, subscribe, and let's hop into that replay together. See you in a second. Okay guys, so we're hopping into a replay. Just played this game on my Smurf account, which is the account I used to practice on. Thor is one of the characters. I actually don't feel super confident on him compared to like some of my other tanks. Like I feel like my Venom, Magneto, and Captain America are really good, but my Thor, it's hit or miss. So I've been practicing with him on my Smurf account. So anyways, starting off in the replay, I'm kind of camping this angle here. Let me pause it real quick. So I'm kind of camping that angle so I can have a good position on the enemy team when they move in, and that way I'm not just completely out of the open. I see my Venom dives in, that's why I decided to dive in here, and you kind of saw I did a little hammer farm tech there just to get that extra 100 shields. So that way I went into the fight with a lot more shields to start off. Now, one thing I didn't say in the guide is that whenever you do your hammer farming for your extra shields, make sure if you're doing that, your plan is to not go in and use your Awakening Rune, because that kind of disables you from being able to jump in and pop Awakening Rune, which most of the time I think is fine, because when you pop Awakening Rune, like I said, you're kind of just dead in the water. So anyways, back to the replay. So anyways, me and Venom are diving the back line. I can tell that I can stay here because I notice I'm getting heals, so I decided to pop Awakening Rune and just really try to throw out some damage on the squishies here. Don't actually get anybody, bit of a clusterfuck there, but no big deal, no big deal. Man, we had good healers, so we popped our Awakening Rune there. Now, if I didn't notice myself getting spammed with heals, I would not have used it there, and I would have saved my dash so I can get out of jail. We get hit by Cloak there, I lose vision, so I decide to dash away, and now I'm running away because I'm taking so much fire. Jeff is actually playing really well. He saved my ass here, and now I'm just playing safe. A little hammer farm there, trying to get some shields. I see Groot, I see Spider-Man, so I'm just going to get in Groot's face, kind of try to zone him out, and I really want to try to get back to the objective as soon as possible, because as a tank, you want to be playing close to the payload, so that way it doesn't move and get progression. But right now, I'm just kind of working on checking on my healers, making sure Spider-Man's not diving them, going in when I can, but I know Spider-Man's around here, so I'm kind of being mindful of that, and he's up there, I dive him, and we actually managed to get him before he can dive and do anything. So now I'm good to just focus on zoning out these tanks. Sometimes it's okay to like dive the backline and go for the squishies. It really just depends on the situation. I actually end up dying here. This is one of those examples I'm talking about where you pop Awakening Rune and you're dead in the water. Like I had no ability to get out, and then I backed up straight into the Groot wall. So that was a bit of a misplay on me. Definitely one of the things that happens when you do pop the Awakening Rune. And it was a good Groot wall. He zoned me out, I couldn't get heals, and then I couldn't escape. I was in the ability and didn't have my dive anymore. So anyways, we're getting back to the point. We do have our ultimate. I kind of moving in front of Winter Soldier here, trying to body block from a little bit. And I decided to go ahead and just drop my ult here. That way I get the instant kill with the clicks of thunder. Not really worried about the impact hit. I just kind of did it just to finish her off real quick. And I also want to zone people off the payload. Wanda, I don't know what she's doing. She's on something. Groot here is literally just hiding, so I get up in his face. And we're just hammer bashing him, trying to throw him up in the sky. I actually miss him right there. And then we still get the kill. And we're getting great heals, so we're able to play super aggressive. I see Spider-Man going though, and I don't want him getting onto my team, so I'm pulling back to try to deal with Spider-Man. Pop Awakening Rune since we're full health, and we're getting healed. and Venom's going in too. All in all, this game's looking pretty promising for us. Wanda's popping her ult, so I get to cover because I don't know where she's at and I don't want to die. 2 of my teammates die, so I know I need to start zoning out and pulling back to the payload. So since we're 2 men down, we need to pull back and not overcommit to anything. And that's the right play to do here since we're basically 2 men down. I want to like still kind of play and stop the payload, but I don't want to just push up forward because we're man down. See Spider-Man try to go for the dive. I completely whiffed twice. It's fine, it happens. Groot uses ult on me. I'm getting some heals, so we're still holding pretty well. End up diving into a wall there, and we're just getting up in Groot's face. I get blinded again, a little bit out of position, but I see Groot's pretty low and not getting heals, so I just want to get him out of the fight because those walls are messing me up. Now I'm coming back to the payload, and basically we're just spamming out our abilities here. I'm getting a ton of heals, they're all clustered up. I pop Awakening Rune just so I can dish out a bunch of damage. Venom trying to go in the back line, we're peeling him off. And they really don't have much left. It's 4 on 3 right now. Spider-Man's coming in. I do have my ultimate again, so I'm going to try and get in on the team and probably ult here pretty soon. Just to zone him out or zone him off the payload. Little hammer throw there, top off our shields, and basically we're just playing super safe. We're not doing anything too aggressive. Like, the only reason I'm like going in is because I know I'm getting healed and they're not bursting me down fast enough. But if I was taking way more damage, I'd definitely be playing way more. Actually, I would say I'm still playing pretty cautious. I'm really not going balls to the wall here. Dive in, drop my E for the slow, drop my ult, and I actually end up going back towards the payload. My mindset there is that I wanted them to run the other way since we're in overtime, and I don't want them to run to the payload. So that's why instead of going for the kills, I actually went backwards just to zone them out from running straight to the payload. Groot's here, he's getting lit, and I think we actually managed to... Alright, there's still one more left, so we're pulling back. Only one person here, and they actually don't get on the payload in time. Whenever it's in overtime, if it ticks, they basically lose the game. They have to be like glued to the payload. So now we'll go on to the second game. Alright, so now we're in the second game, and actually that first game went super smooth. That's about as good a game as you can ask for with Thor, and basically kind of seeing everything woven together. When to pop Awakening Rune, trying to do your dives, push people up in the air, using your electric field for the slow and the zoning effect. And right now we're just coming up to this top window just to kind of scout and see what the enemy team comp is. I see they have an Iron Man, I see they have a Groot, there's someone going in on the low ground bottom right, and then they have a Punisher on the back. So immediately my game plan is I'm going to actually push out to the left, so that way I have as much cover as possible and they don't have a lot of good angles on me. Like if I walk out the front door, I'm most likely going to get lit, but there's way more cover pushing out on this left flank here. So I'm pushing out here, I see Iron Man, I attempt to get in his face, try to hit him with the melee. And like I said, this is like one of the weird things you could do. You could try and zone out Iron Man. I was going to try and get the dash there, but he actually broke the ground I was on, so I fell through. Rest in peace. And now my next objective is to kind of flank and go for that Punisher, because he's just literally lighting up my team there. One of my teammates actually does get the turret. I push him from behind, we get the Punisher, and now I'm going to push down to the payload. I see Groot, we dive on Groot. We're messing him up. Venom's with me too. And basically, we're kind of just steamrolling this team right now. Groot's dead, and they're just falling apart from the inside out. And now I'm going to attempt to try and deal with the Iron Man. Woo! And he gets away. With 1 HP. Venom's going to drop in, finish it off. I'm going to come join Venom in the fight here. Pop my Awakening Rune because I know it's just his Venom left. And basically we've just been steamrolling their whole team, so I'm really not worried about dying. Honestly, this is kind of an easy game. We kind of clash buds here in the head. But I think this is basically kind of showcasing, like, these players were definitely not the best players. Throw in my E there just to kind of zone people out. If anybody wants to pass through, they're going to get slowed. And I'm just trying to keep you off the payload. And that's basically a textbook Thor game in the book. Yeah, that's basically 101 on how to like play Thor. Now, granted, the gameplay is going to look different as you rank up and play in like different leagues and kind of like the play styles. Like in this game, the enemy team really wasn't very good, so I got away with a lot of stuff that against better players I would have to play more passively and cautious around. But I just wanted to show this because this is kind of just an example of what you can do with Thor, especially in like low ELOs, and how you can just really carry games on this character. Just by being a menace, playing smart, watching positioning, and knowing your abilities and using everything to its fullest potential. And that's it, guys. The Thor guide in the books. Let me know who you want to see next. Some potential candidates would be Venom, Magneto. It's probably going to be Venom or Magneto, I'm thinking, because those are like the next two characters I play the most. But let me know what you want to see down below. And if you got some value and discovered something new about Thor in this video, please consider leaving a like. Until next time, have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile. I will see you on the next one. Bye.